busy. Yeah, so at the moment we're only a few, so there will be more people joining us. But at the moment, because we are such a small group, I don't mind if you interrupt me and ask questions in between. I think this session we'll keep, for now, we keep it as a weekly session, and towards the time that you guys write exams, we can increase the number of sessions and things like that, and we will move it around a bit as well. So, but I'll let you know on the WhatsApp group as well. So, just for the guys that are not on the WhatsApp group, my cell phone number is on the screen. If you can't see it, it is 0837908387. But I assume you will also be able to see it later on when I share the presentation in any case. Okay, so I thought that, yes, most of the assignments are nearly done or will be done in the next week. That we, let me just wait. Okay. That we just maybe start from the start again nearly. Just seeing that there's a blank, so let's just quickly see to get the screen back on. Okay, cool. So basically, I thought that let's start at study unit 1, and nearly want to show you guys. I think this is out of one of the books that are available on this my UNISA site, but I also included, you will see later on, some of the exam questions that was asked in previous exams, so that we can just get nearly a better understanding of what you guys will get in the exam. And the way the exam is going to be, and I think this is also good that we have it for the rest of the guys that will see the recording as well. It is fully online. So what that means is you will get a question like this. You will pick the question. There will be nearly like a dot next to it, which one you pick. When you submit that question and you go on to the second question, you will not be able to go back to the previous question. And I think that is very important. So it's not that you can quickly look through the paper to see which questions are the easiest to complete. You will not be able to do that. So you will need to finish question 1 first, then question 2. Otherwise, you will not get the points for that questions. Also, what the lecturer said is they're gonna, so the question sets are very similar, but the detail within the question will be different. So when we get to some of the questions like stem and leaf, when you get later into confidence intervals, those kind of things, the question will be very similar, but they will use other numbers within, so that one can't communicate over any of any nearly online devices. So that there will, and the first semester there was 3 different papers. It seems like this semester there will be 5 different papers. So it is making it nearly impossible for anyone to share some of the answers. So just to keep that in mind. But saying that, I thought let's start at the beginning. Let's start at study unit 1 nearly. Look at things that I think will be important for you to look at for the exam. nearly when we look at the question, see what is important and what you need to look at. Okay, so any questions from your side at the moment? Otherwise, we can just continue. I think we are in total, we're only 5, including me. So if you quickly want to ask a question, please do so. Otherwise, we can just continue.
Hi, Jane. Quick question on my end.
Yes.
So you mentioned in the group that the lecturers are trying to move away from the none of the above options.
Yes.
The exam, will there be none of the above options?
It will not, there will not be a none of the above.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Yeah, there will not be none of the above. So yes, and from next year it will be totally out of all the assignments as well. So in the exam there will be not an option of none of the above. And I think that is important because it's nearly, and we've seen in the assignment, because how things are phrased, it is nearly, but there's something wrong in one of the options, and then none of the above is also nearly wrong. So I think that is why we are, so the lecturer is definitely on board with that, and we will not have that in the exam. It can also be that sometimes there's also only 4 answers, but I think at the moment, the previous online in May, June was still five options. And I do think there already the none of the above was nearly not an option already. But in the assignments, there was still, but in the exam, there won't be. Okay, so let's quickly start and let's see at some of these. So I took a few of the ones that I think nearly covers a lot of the first principles that we need to know about the different variables, how they are classified. So the first one, and I think this is also important, is when we read the question. So the variable customer satisfaction use the following 4-point scale, from being not satisfied to being very satisfied. So basically, in there, it tells me that we have ranking. So that for me is nearly, I look at that and then it tells me, okay, I'm ranking my order of satisfaction. So because there's ranking, which one will it be? What would you guys have said? When there's ranking, it's definitely not discrete. So I also look at, Neely will give you some tips as how I would have looked at it for the exam. So if it's not discrete, it's also not option 5. Then I'm always thinking, why would they have given me an ordinal option as well, when there is an ordinal there? So that would nearly trigger me to think, okay, but maybe 3 is right. And then if we go through the other 2, it's definitely not continuous, it's definitely not normal or nominal. So because it's ranking, it is ordinal. And yes, number 3 is the correct one, Naomi. So again, in the exam, it's nearly what I want to show you also during the next few weeks as we engage, is to look for certain things as well that can make it just easier for you. Okay, so then let's look at the next one. So interesting, there we used a 1 to 4 scale, but because it was not satisfied to satisfied or very satisfied, there was a ranking involved. Now we're sitting with a 1 to 4 scale, but it is different countries. So it is not ranking. So then I look at the options, and we know ranking is ordinal, so we know it's not ranking. So it's definitely not that one, and it's definitely not that one. Then the options is it nominal, is it discrete, is it continuous? And which one would you guys have gone for in this instance? So again, cool. It can't be continuous. Discrete is when it is 1, 2, 3 or 4, but not in a categorical way. So it can't be discrete. So the only one that is left is nominal. Yes. Do you want to quickly ask something, or?
No, I just actually wanted to say I think it should be nominal, but
Cool.
we've now worked through it. Yes. Thank you.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, so please, we are a small group, interrupt, shout out to me what you think, because it's nearly, I want you guys to, because this is nearly, I don't want to say it like that, but it's nearly the freebie kind of questions that one needs to get right, is these first few study units. So because it just gets more difficult as we go along. So, but I like to also that we nearly figure it out in a sense. So what you will also see, this is more the type, let me quickly look, question 5, question 12 that I've included is more the type of questions that they like to ask in the exam as well, because it nearly covers everything of your study unit. So if there is only 1 or 2 questions on your study unit, this is very typically what they want to do, is nearly include everything into that one question, so that you can get to an answer. And then they can ask you only 1 question or 2 questions because it covers nearly everything. Okay, so let's look at this one. So, and always remember, sometimes they ask incorrect, sometimes they ask correct, but most of the time they're doing the incorrect one with these kind of things. And then suddenly a next question, they throw in what is the correct one, and one is sometimes also caught off guard if you work in that process. Okay, so let's look at this one. And again, please engage if you, but with this, for me, there's no quick or easy way to spot something that is not right or can be eliminated. So unfortunately, with these ones, I start from the top and work through them. So, and what I like to do is, and you will see from the notes that I also made, and again, I will share that again later on, nearly in my summaries. I think it's also very nice when you have that summary nearly next to you or pasted against the wall to say, when you get to this question, you can nearly look at that summary and see if you can eliminate. So from my summary, I know that a nominal variable is a qualitative variable. So that one is correct. From my summary, I can see that a quantitative variable quantitative variables to continuous alone. So I think that is important to see that word alone in there. So let's just continue with the other ones. A qualitative variable indicates that the person or object belongs in a category. We know that is right because that is what qualitative does. It basically categorizes things. The method of payment is a qualitative variable. So if you look at method of payment, it is something like via credit card or via check card or via cash. So it is definitely also categorized. the amount of money a person withdraws from an ATM is a discrete variable. So this, again, very interesting how you look at it. So we know when you draw money from an ATM, it is basically a 10 rand, a 20, a 50, a 100. So it is a discrete variable. It's something different if it was the time that you stood in the queue at the ATM. That can be a continuous variable. But because we know that the money that you will draw will be a 10 or 20, it's not that it can be anything different. It will be a discrete variable. So that one is correct. The thing where I wanted to catch you out in option 2 is continuous is a quantitative variable. So that is actually right, but there are more. So we know the discrete and ratio or interval is also a quantitative variable. So that is why number 2 is the wrong one, because it's not only the continuous. Okay, so again, in the wording nearly, because originally I looked at it and I didn't look at alone. I just saw quantitative refers to continuous, and I wanted to say, yes, that is the correct option, or it is actually correct and not incorrect. But just with the wording alone, it basically changed that statement. Okay, you guys are happy with that?
Yes.
Okay. Also, if I need to explain, but I think I now nearly answered that question with only looking at my summary page. So again, I think that can be very handy, that you don't also need to remember all of these things, because it can be very, very daunting trying to remember, especially all of these, the different types of variables and levels of measurement, because it is just a small thing that changed here to make it incorrect. Okay, so let's look at the next statement or question. And again, it's a few things that they want to test. So you can see this talks about the qualitative, quantitative, discrete variables. So let's look at, again, we need to look for the incorrect one. So the first one, the number of earpieces a person has represents a discrete variable. Yes or no?
I think it would be yes, because it will either be like 1, 2, or 3, depending on the number of earpieces. Yes.
Perfect. So once again, you can't nearly have anything else like a 1.22222 earpiece or anything like that. So it can only be discrete. So perfect. The opinion about legislation of marijuana is a qualitative variable. So again, remember, qualitative is about categories. So what would you say?
I think maybe we can put it in a category where some people strongly agree, some strongly disagree.
Yes.
I don't know if that would.
Perfect. And because it is by using the words opinion as well, then you will categorize the people's opinions. It's something different if it was, so if you needed to say yes, no, it is still opinion. So yes, spot on. It talks about categories, it talks about attitudes, so it is definitely correct. Okay, let's look at the next one. The number of oil cans sold at a given petrol station is continuous variable. What would you guys say about that one? Yes, no, correct, incorrect. And to give you an idea, when we talk number of, it's normally not continuous. So again, if you look at continuous, number of oil cans again will be discrete. So it will be 1 or 2 or 3 or 5 or 6 or 7. Again, you can't sell 1.25678 oil cans. You can only sell a discrete number of oil cans. So it will not be a continuous, it will be a discrete number. So the number of oil cans must be discrete, so that one is the incorrect one. Let's just look at the other two because I just want to see what that is about. So the height of a customer at a boutique is a quantitative variable. So quantitative talks about measurement. So the height of is a measurement, so that is correct. And then the last one, the daily number of students going to school is discrete. Again, correct, because it is a number of. So again, if it is 1, 2, 3, 400, 500, it is a discrete variable because it is a discrete number. So again, depending on how the question is asked, it can have two things, but I think for this one, it is very clear that the option 3 one is the wrong one. Okay, you guys happy with that? I think this is the way it will be in the exam as well. The other thing that they can ask around study unit 1, and that I've added more in nearly the summary, is the differences in certain things. So the sample versus population. So I think there was in some of the assignments, that was also part of it. So that can also be a question in the exam where they talk about what is the, I think there was in one of the questions, if it wasn't, we will get to that in one of the mock exams or something like that, where there were talks about the population parameter and the sample statistic. And then they ask you, give a signs for the population mean and the population variance, or give a sign for the sample mean or sample variance. If it wasn't in one of the assignments, I'm thinking of one of the papers I will show you later as we go along. So that I will also show you later on if it wasn't one of the assignments. But that is basically on study unit 1 nearly, where it's for me, you will nearly get a question on one of the types of variables. If it is variables combined with levels of measurement, and then it will be one about the statistics versus the parameter kind of setup. So that will be nearly your two questions out of study unit 1. If there is one more question around it, then they will split it out that it is a question on sample statistic versus population parameter, one on types of variables, and one on levels of measurement. But it can be that is basically what they can ask around study unit 1. Okay, was there anything else around study unit 1 that was a bit strange for you, or that you want to ask, that we can chat about that? Or we can go on to the next study unit. I basically want to cover 2 study units in a session if it's possible, but if we take longer on a study unit, that's also fine. So can we go on to the next one?
I think we can move because your notes were very nicely set out to go back and to understand. Yes.
Okay, cool.
That's from my side.
Okay, so for study unit 1, I think the notes are spot on nearly, because where it is, you can just nearly match with what they are asking. I think there was a lot of ask about stem and leaf. So for the rest of the session, you'll see I have a few questions on stem and leaf that I want to get to, some frequency tables that was in previous exams, and also stem and leaf in a previous exam. So I think I want to nearly look at these few questions in the next half hour, because that nearly covers then study unit 2 as well, because I think that for me is nearly in stem and leaf. We also test some of the things in study unit 3. But I think it's good that we do it here. So, and for once and for all, nearly to understand what stem and leaf is and how you can get it in the exam. So the one thing that I always also look at is, so they can sometimes try to trick you with what is in the stem and leaf. So here it says, given the following stem and leaf display for midterm exam scores on information systems. What I have seen, okay, so yes, and the wind today in Cape Town is absolutely terrible. So so I think that is why I want us to focus on the stem and leaf and once and for all nearly sort it out. So when we look at the stem and leaf, and maybe this later on, I will look for an example of what they did in a previous exam as well, where they use it a bit differently, but let's first go through the normal ones. Okay, so let's look at, so when I see this, I automatically look at this and say, okay, that is my minimum. And that is my maximum. Okay, so if that comes up in the questions, it will be there. The other thing that we can look at is there's always reference to a range, maybe not even in this one, but then if it is, we are covered for later on in other exam or other questions. But the range is the maximum minus the minimum. So in this instance, it would have been 90 minus 50. But let's first go through the question. So which one is incorrect? So the sample size is 7. So let's check. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so there is 7 observations. So that one is correct. Okay, so approximately most of the candidates had distinctions. Okay, so let's first skip that one, because what is the definition of a distinction? So let's first give that one a miss and let's look at the other ones. The median is 76. So the median is the number that is in the middle. So because we have 7 numbers, we can basically say it is between numbers. So let's 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 on both sides. So it will be the number 4. So how we normally do it is to say we've got 7 numbers, you plus 1 to it, and if you divide it by 2, you will get the position. So 7 plus 1 is 8, divided by 2 is 4. So position 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 is your median. So 76 is your median. Okay, the 5th exam score is 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the 5th exam score is actually not 1, it is 81. Okay, so and that maybe if you look at what the stem and leaf does, we'll see it in the bottom one as well. So the ordered numbers is 50, so it's 5 and the 0, 7 and the 4, another 7 and a 4, 7, 6, 8, 1, 89, and 92. So that one is also right. So let's look at approximately most of the candidates had distinction. So then we need to say distinction is more than 75. Then it will be 1, 2, 3, 4. So 4 out of 7 is more than the 50%. So that one is a bit of a blurry one for me, because what is the definition of distinction? But this one is definitely wrong. Okay, so option 4 is definitely the wrong option. Okay, Naomi, do you want to quickly, is that fine for you at the moment? Okay, for now. Okay, cool. So let's go to the next one. So consider the 9 email receipts data of 2-digit integers. And I think this is very important, and that is nearly what I wanted to talk about in the previous one. 2-digit integers. So when we look at that data, this is not an option, because stem and leaf tells us there needs to be a stem, so with numbers, that has leaves on them. And this one actually just have leaves, so there's not a stem associated. So option 5 can't be. The other thing is your stem and leaf is always ordered. So it's always from the smallest to the from the minimum to the maximum. So we first needed to actually order that from small to big. But saying that, let's look at just for options. So 1, 2, 3, perfect. We don't know yet if that is correct. 1, 3, 2 can't be. It needs to be in order. 1, 2, 3, perfect. We don't know about that yet. 1, 3, 2 can't be. So if you were in the exam and you needed to make a guess, you basically have 2 options, option 1 or option 3. As I said sometimes on the chat, if you don't know, go for option 3. But let's quickly check these options. So with even looking at the data, let's look at this option. So 137 is in order, so it might be right. 8482, that's not in order. 32 is not in order. So it nearly wants to tell me that option 1 is not the correct one. Let's just look at 3. So 137 is in order, 2488 is in order, 23 is in order. So I want to go with option 3. But let's look at the numbers. So 11 is there, then 17. So if I needed to write that, let's just see, and there's a 13. So remember, always in order. So the first one was 11, the second one was 13, and the next one was 17. Okay, so 137. So both of them is still correct. Then let's look at, there's a 22. Okay, there's a 24. Okay, so there's a 22, 24, 28, and another 28. So 2 28s. So that basically we can write as 2. So 22, 24, 28, 28. So automatically we can see that is not going to be right. So it needs to be option 3, but let's look at the last one. There's a 32 and a 33. So 52, 53. So it will be basically 3. So what is left on that is the 2 of the 30 and the 3. So that basically tells me it should be option 3. Okay, so that's another way that they can ask for stem and leave. Naomi, again, back to you, a bit better. I think it's important that, and I think that's how I've structured the stem and leave also. It's from the more easier to the more difficult ones. So let's go to the next one. Okay, so again, what is interesting. No, that's perfect. So that is why we are doing this. I think it is, and that's why I also wanted to start from the beginning nearly and not here in the middle somewhere, so that we can just get all the things in place nearly when we get to the more difficult ones. So no, I think that is, it nearly is, one just needs one explanation and then it nearly all falls into place. Okay, look at this question now again. So a set of 2-digit. So when it's 2 digits, that is not a 2-digit number. So automatically I take out that as an option. So 2-digit number is 20. It will be 22. So if I look at 2-digit number, that is not a 2-digit number. And we are looking for the correct data set. So the first number is 20. Okay, so it can be that one and it can be that one. The second number is 22. Again, that one or that one. The third number is also 22. So, okay, so again, we don't, there they skip the 22. So it seemed like they took out the double that was there. The fourth number is 27. Okay, so automatically that nearly tells me that we are working with the right one. That should have been 22. Here what they've done wrong is they started with 2 instead of 20. So that was also automatically incorrect. So what the next one will be then 31, which is correct. Another 31, which is correct. 33, which is correct. 35, which is correct, and the last one is 39, which is also correct. So again, option 3 for this was the correct option. So again, it's nearly, as I like to do it, you nearly eliminate a few of your questions, and then you can hone in on the 1 or 2 that are very similar, and then to see which one will be the correct one. Okay, so let's get to the next one, and then there is 2 exam papers that was very similar. It was in the same year, but they just tweaked the questions a bit. Okay, so, and this is maybe also Naomi, where it's a bit more difficult because now they're asking some of the other information, nearly combining study unit 2 with study unit 3. So again, so now you will see they're talking about smallest, which is your minimum. They're talking about most ages in the sample are greater, so you need to see where most of your numbers are sitting. They're talking about the mode, they talk about the range, they're talking about the medium. So how I look at this always is to say, okay, what is my minimum? 25. So there was the question on 25, so that is correct. We are looking for incorrect. What is my maximum? It's 61, nothing on maximum, but that's fine. What is my range? My range is the maximum minus the minimum. So that will be the 61 minus 25, which is 36, I think. So let's look, range of a distribution 36. Okay, so again, correct. So option 1 is correct, option 4 is correct. We're sitting with 3 other ones that we nearly need to figure out. Okay, so I first want to look at the mode and then the median before we tackle that one. So the mode is the number that happens the most or the most frequent. So let's look. So 26 is happening twice, 28 is happening twice, 33 is happening 3 times. So 33 at the moment is the better one, or the most. 35 is only 2, 36 only 2, 37 only 2, 38 only 2, 39 only 2, 40 only 2, 41 4 times, so it is definitely more than the 3 times. 46 is also only 3 times, 50 twice, and then it's single ones for the rest. So 41 happens 4 times, which are the most. So the mode is definitely 41. Okay, then let's look at the median. So the median is the number that's in the middle. They said we're working with 40 people. So 40 plus 1 divided by 2. So that gives me, what is it? Position 20.5. So basically between position 20 and 21, I need to look at what is the value. So, and for me, it's all about, I would just count. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 19, 20, 21. And between 20 and 21 is the number that I'm looking for. So in between that, it is only 38 that it can be. Because that's 38, that's 38. So in between, it must be 38. So the median is 38. Okay, so let's look at option 2. So we know that one is wrong, but let's look at what they are asking. Most ages in the sample are greater than 40. Okay, so let's look at that. So greater than 40. So we know the median is sitting there. So basically at your median, that's the midpoint. So if most of your ages were older than 40, 40 needed to be the median, or it should have been higher than 40 to be the median. Okay, so because to be the most numbers. So now you can see from there's more numbers sitting below 40 than above 40. So that one must be wrong because it can't be then greater than 40. Okay. Hope that nearly helps you in this. I see, Naomi, you say, wow, so I assume it's much clearer now for you. Cool. Awesome. That's all that I wanted to get. But so that means that you now fully understand stem and leaf. And basically that is nearly around the stem and leaf. We've got another one that was stem and leaf. So let me bring that in first. So this was from October paper 2018. And very interesting. So you will see this was the October, November paper. This was the May, June paper of the same year. Okay. And you will see that very much the similar numbers of the options are given. Very similar at the bottom as well. I was wondering if that is a mistake, because that just looks, I think there was on the paper a mistake, but let's look at these two questions. So again, how I would look at it is, like I said, I'll get my minimum 36. They don't ask me for the minimum, that's fine. The maximum is 86. They don't ask me for the maximum, that's fine. I know the range is the maximum minus the minimum, so 86 minus 36 is 50. Okay, so the range is 50, which is perfect. We can even do this in tandem nearly to say that is exactly the same set of data. Both is asking for incorrect, so that is also correct because it's 86 minus 36. Okay, so that is fine. Let's look. The fifth largest number is 50. Okay, and this for me now is, so how we normally, our mind is structured is to say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 50. And we would have said, oh, that's correct. But no, they're asking us the fifth largest number. So we need to start at the 86 and move backwards. So 86, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the fifth largest number is actually 80. Okay, so that one was the incorrect one. Okay, so look at what they've asked here. And I think that is for when it was between the exam papers, so that people just don't nearly copy from a previous exam paper, the fifth smallest value. So now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the fifth smallest value was the 50. Okay, so by looking nearly at the same data, the question can be structured a bit differently, that you can get two different answers. And that is nearly how your exam will be with the different papers, nearly is to say you've got the same question. So it's not about the question that would be more difficult in the one paper than the other one, but it is in the answers that it can be different. And that's why it's not, because if you would now have written this in the exam, it's very similar nearly, and now you can see how easily it is if you copied it from somebody else, how to make the mistake. So that is why in the exam it will be different. There are 33 numbers, so let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 30, 51, 52, 53. Okay, so there are 53 numbers. There will be 53 numbers in that as well, but let's make sure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 51, 52, 53. So in both of them, the 33 numbers are there, so it's correct. The mode, looking for the one that happens the most. Let's see, there's a 51 that happens twice. There's a 55 that happens twice. There's a 64 that happens twice. 70 that happens 3 times. So that will then not be. Okay, so 70 is the mode in this one. When we look at this one as well, 51, 52 twice, 64 twice, 73 times. So it would be right. So in this one, your smallest number is 36, your biggest number is 86, so your median can't be 4. Okay, so that is just wrong. So let's look. So obviously this needs to be correct, but let's look. There's 33 numbers. If we divide 33 by 2, we get, what is it, 16.5, or we can say 33 plus 1, that gives us 34 divided by 2 gives us 17. So value 17. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Sorry, was that? So the median is 64. Okay, so again, by having the 2 different questions, and you can see it's 2 different answers, but it's looking at the same data. So again, covering the stem and leaf. And then the last one is nearly, and I think you also had this in some of the assignment, nearly on frequency and relative frequency and those kind of things. So what is relative frequency? So that's maybe the question that I need to ask you guys. If you get this in the exam, what would have been your answer to if I ask you what is relative frequency? So if I needed to say relative frequency, yes.
So the relative frequency is the frequency of the class divided by the n, so all the numbers together, if I remember correctly. Yes.
Perfect. So relative frequency is, so if it was relative frequency of A and C, it would have been 160 divided by the total, which is the 500. If it was for the DA, it would have been 246 divided by the 500. And the relative frequency for EFF would have been 94 divided by 500. Okay, so again, you'll see the same question was asked in the 2 papers in 2018, but once again, a bit different. So here they asked for relative frequency of the ANC, and now you can see that if you don't know what the concept is, there's the 500, which is your N. So obviously that is wrong, but there was that connection there. Okay, we need to work out what the relative frequency of ANC was. So let me get my calculator. So it would have been 160 divided by 500, which will give us 0.32. Okay, so it would have given me that. So that is probably one of the other frequencies. We'll maybe check now if it is somewhere there. The 160, you could have mistaken as well, because that is the pure number. So that is also wrong. But 406 nearly looks like the number if you added 160 plus the 246, but also not right. So if I ask you what's the relative frequency of the ANC and the DA, you would have added the 2 to get the 406 and then divided by 500. So this one, the answer was, the relative frequency was 160 divided by 500. And let's look at the other question, also question 3 in the same year. Again, incoming freshman frequency. What is the relative frequency of DA? It was basically the 2461 divided by the 500, which then gives you 0.492. And this is something that I don't like in the exam, but you would see, so it was that one. One can easily make the mistake because it's nearly the same number. So again, if you rush in the exam and you see, oh, there's something starting with 4, sometimes you miss the first option and you actually go with option 5. But just again, it is 492 and not 429. So, okay, so that then is, again, with 2 different options. So they could, in the exam that you guys write, they can ask exactly the same question. They can ask it in the one group for ANC. They can ask it for the other group, the DA. They can ask it in the other group to work out the EFF. They can ask in the other group to work out the ANC and the DA. So it can be that it can be a few options. And as you will also see, it's not that it is option 5 for both answers. It is different options then within the questioning nearly. Okay, so that was what I wanted to cover today with you guys. Basically, study unit 1 and 2 with a big focus on the stem and leaf, nearly to make that clear. Next week, we'll just continue with study unit 3. So just a quick check-in. Does this help? Is this valuable? Because then I will continue with the next one nearly on the same path, and that is how I would share it and go through it as well. And yes, we are not a lot, so you can quickly unmute as well if you want to quickly give feedback. Okay.
Yeah, I found it very helpful because it's good to go back and have a look to remember the critical things to remember. Like you say, make sure you read the question, the answers like that 0.492 to look closely, because that can throw a person off if you don't double check and rush through the questions too fast. Yeah.
Yes.
I found it very helpul. Yes.
Okay, cool. And remember, in the exam, you won't have an option of going back. So that for me is that's very important. You only have a one option or the one time to complete it, and then you don't have it again. So okay, cool.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys. If there's anything else, we can chat on the WhatsApp again. I am trying to see how we can connect all the other guys as well, but the recording we will make available nearly later tonight, and I will share the link on the group as well. Okay, have a good evening.
Thanks, Jane.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, you too.
Cheers.